Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. Joyce, I can't wait to talk. We have so much to talk about today.
Do we though?
I don't know. We were just spending a half hour trying to figure out what we're going to talk about. It's a little lull maybe before the storm.
I mean, we do have things to talk about, but we feel like we should save it for next week
Right. Next week
when it
we'll
will
talk
be
about
more
the
applicable with the ballots.
next week we'll
So,
have the ballots and stuff.
yeah.
So that'll be fun. Joyce, I have jury duty next week, so we'll have to figure. I'll figure. I'm hoping.
Like James Marsden?
Yeah, he's going to be on it, but we'll figure it out. We got the ballots next week, so we won't talk about certain things, I guess.
You should just do this from the courthouse.
I might. We'll see. But we have a lot of campaigning going on, Joyce. The eligibility period is over. We discussed this last week. The last Hail Marys coming through were Eric, the great Lillian Hall.
Um, yeah. Do you know anyone who watched them over the weekend?
I do not.
Me either. But I will say I heard multiple plugs for the Great Lillian Hall while I was watching the French Open this weekend. Because Paul Annacone, who's a commentator on the tennis channel, he's married to Elizabeth Seldes Annacone, who wrote it, obviously.
Oh,
So he
wow.
plugged it. And
Sure.
then on the NBC broadcast, Mary Carrillo was also plugging it, and she loved it.
Look at that. Good for
So
them.
if only they were Emmy voters.
Yeah, are they? Do we know they are they?
I
A
mean, probably
thing?
for like sports Emmys.
Well, that'd be great. No, I
Yeah.
don't know anybody watched either. I will say I was impressed with the amount of coverage Eric generated. A lot of blogging about it. I saw a lot of talking about the ending and the story.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just like, from their press tour.
Yeah,
You save the stuff for
yeah.
postmortems. So that's how it works.
And then a little more of a long tail for hacks too, Joyce. People really love that finale. That I've been hearing a lot about.
Yes, great stuff. Yeah, that I have heard from like I guess normies, but like people I don't actually know in real life.
Hmm.
Normies, like we're not like friends, but like I know people who have watched it, the finale, and loved it.
I felt vindicated because I know, like, I feel like at least one person I know was like, this show's not, before the season was like, this is boring. And it's like, this show's the best. And
Yes, you
it's like
mentioned this person
Succession.
before.
It's like Succession, like fully, like just in. I
Well,
love the,
this person called it boring because they just don't like existing shows, right?
yes, I think so. Or
Which
hadn't gone
makes no
back and
sense.
watched it, but
So
then came
they
back
so
and watched it and said it wasn't boring. So
but so like does this person just watch one season of shows and never return
I
to
doubt it.
like
I
I don't
doubt it.
understand.
Uh, I love the victory tour. A lot of great interviews. My favorite so far was I saw EW did one with Hacks guest star Jared Hall.
Well, he was in the premiere.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he talked to the whole team. And Lucia Aniello was like, the best acting I've ever seen is Hannah Einbinder in the finale, and so is Gene saying that. So I feel like they're really all the eggs are in the Hannah Einbinder finale basket.
Yeah, so we talked about this, I guess, a month ago when Hacks was premiering because we had
Yes,
seen the whole season and we had been stumping for Hannah
yes.
and say how great she was. And we talked about it again last week and how great she was. And I believe I talked about like how I know, in the first two seasons, a lot of people were not high on her acting,
Yeah, you know what's
right?
funny?
And
You mentioned that, and then I was talking to a neighbor here about the
ooh,
show, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, I don't think she's any good." And I was like, "Well, she's great actually." But I was like, "That's a normal person who's watched the show." And was like, "I'm not really nuts about Hannah Einbinder." And I was like, "Oh, you should watch the third season. She's fantastic."
yeah, so I feel like while the third season was airing, I feel like there were still some detractors
Yeah,
to her performance, but I feel like she won over everyone by the finale, and you definitely saw a lot of that over the last couple days. And yeah, a lot of the postmortems are definitely centered on Hannah and her performance, and obviously what Ava does, because it changes the whole show and the relationship. And she also has her comedy special dropping on June 13th, the first day of voting.
I
So
didn't watch the comedy
very, very
special.
Hannah centered.
Did you watch the comedy special yet? I didn't watch
I
it
did
yet.
not watch that yet.
I'm gonna watch it though because when you're watch, I'm supposed to speak with
You're
you.
you're gonna talk to her, so
So
you
I
better
have to
ask
know.
about it.
I better watch about it too, right? I gotta at least, even if I don't watch it, I'll ask about it. How was that? Had to be cool, right? Recording your own comedy special. I have a great question for her about Ava that I have not seen asked yet, and I'm like very excited to see. So
I
I have a
hope she
good.
tells you great question.
She won't tell me great question, and she'll probably just repeat a lot of the same talking points she did in the other interviews. But
I love when they repeat talking points,
it's
and I
fine.
love the ones who can really sell it as if they're telling a new story. And I'm like, you told the story on Seth last week, you know?
I mean, they're great actors.
Yeah, that's why they're actors. It's
Uh,
even better when it's like producers and like, you know, like behind the scenes folks doing it, you know?
so I feel like she was always obviously getting a nomination, right? Like that would be like insane to even think even before the season started. We both had her in. I think we maybe both had her in first.
I had her in first before seeing a second of the season.
Do you think like that this is like she's not the favorite in the odds still because the odds are still a little lagging, right? Meryl Streep's still up there. But I mean, does it feel like she actually is the favorite, like the real
I
favorite?
definitely feel like since the finale dropped, um, all I've seen is like Hannah Einbinder better win the Emmy.
I've seen a lot of that too. I've seen a lot of that because I tweeted it too.
Yeah, me too. I tweeted it too. So
So
we both tweeted it.
that's definitely why I've seen it. But I've also seen other people tweeting it. The one thing I'll say is
Yeah.
like the only thing giving we've talked about this. The only thing giving me pause the whole time is just like they're obviously so obsessed with the bear. And if one of these bear supporting actresses like pops in season 3, does that make a play? But I actually think Hannah is so great in season 3 of Hacks that even the love for the bear would prevent like a fork style push from Liza Colon-Zayas or Abby Elliott from winning.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of talked about this last week too. Like I didn't feel like either Tina nor Sugar were on the same level as Richie,
Right.
you know? But yeah, that's really like the only question mark because I feel like if I mean, first of all, props to shows like The Bear and Only Murders for being able to pump out seasons annually, like a normal TV show, even in the face of a strike, right? Like these other, like nowadays, there's like 85% of shows that they wait 2 years for the next season, you know,
Correct.
and you forget about what happened. But these shows have been pumping out literally year after year, as you should as a TV show.
Right.
So it's cool that The Bear is coming back for the third year in a row with its third season. But if we're not doing that, I think everyone would be so much more confident about Hannah winning.
Yeah.
So, and I
I,
think,
I
but I
agree.
think like with the reception to her performance and the finale overall, I feel like I would say like I guess like 10% more confident that she will win than I was like last Wednesday when we were doing this.
I feel I would say that I think that's fair. I would say I think they've done a great job. First of all, she's got the material, right? So it's like not that like we've said. Sometimes it doesn't matter. It could be a great show, great performance. It doesn't matter. But she has the great material, and they've done a great job of getting right in front and being like, this is important and special, and you should be paying tribute to this performance. And it kind of like is the culmination of the whole show so far. And I feel like that's even not even her saying it, but like the other people on the team who are Emmy winners saying
Yeah.
it is like very important.
Yeah, and it's like it's the team and it's also fans and you know critical response to it's basically everyone
Yeah.
who's championing her. It kind of reminds me of how the Oppenheimer team just rally around Cillian Murphy,
I thought the
you know,
same thing.
especially after he lost Critics' Choice. And he's also, you know, more of an introvert and he doesn't like do this whole,
Yeah.
you know, dog and pony show. So, but yeah, like they every time they talked about the movie, it was about his performance and, you know, just like following him and you know making sure it was all about like his performance because that's if that doesn't work the whole movie doesn't work,
Right.
right? And like with the finale, I mean obviously the show was about you know Deborah and Ava, but the finale was like all about Ava, and that's really been the narrative of the finale and all of their interviews since then.
Yeah, I thought that too. And I think your point also about the special is great because I think some people were like, this is stupid. Why'd they drop this Hannah Einbinder special after eligibility ended? She could have easily gotten in for another Emmy for it. And she might next year, but it's actually better for the visibility to keep like the attention market in focused, right? Like, you want to
Yeah,
keep going up.
yeah, and I think also like I mean, I know for me, for sure, like Hacks was my first exposure to Hannah Einbinder, right?
Oh,
Like
sure.
I
It's like her first
never,
show. Yeah.
yeah, like I did not see her on Colbert, which is, you know, how Gene Smart saw her and
Hmm.
recommended her, you know. So like I've never seen her for stand up before. So, and I think that's also part of why a lot of people haven't been totally impressed by her acting, you know, especially
Mhm.
in the first two seasons, because like she is like an office basically, and I guess you could, you know, she could be accused of quote playing herself, right? And like she hasn't really done anything else since then. Like she does her comedy, her stand up. So this is like her special is another opportunity for fans of Hacks to see her, you know, like act like her first job, basically her day
Mhm.
job, which is stand
Mhm.
up, right?
Yeah.
So you could actually see her in her element.
I think it also helps with what you're saying is like I actually don't think she's a lot like Ava beyond the fact that they're probably both like
They're just both
chicken,
young
young,
and comedy writers. That's it.
but like
But like
they're
no one knew her before the show. That was the
right.
problem.
But I feel like seeing the stand-up special would show how she's like a different energy, certainly. I think, and just from watching
Yeah.
interviews with her and stuff,
Yeah,
she's
that's why
not
that's
the
why I think it would help.
yeah, I think so too. So I think that was a very savvy move, as it turns out, not a fail in terms of that. And people, you know what, the comedy specials, she could still get in next year at the Emmys.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't think she's like concerned about getting a Emmy nomination
No,
for that,
no, no.
or yeah. So
And maybe
hey,
if they
listen, she could win the Golden Globe, remember? She could win
true.
that first.
Oh yeah, that's
She'd be
true.
the second winner of that category.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess also news was Hacks were renewed for season 4, Joyce, which we knew would happen. I think that happened after we recorded.
Yeah, it happened Thursday morning.
Right.
So I thought they would wait. I thought they would milk it a little bit more and wait until like Monday, you know, but they just did it right up. Like we knew it was happening.
Obviously.
So, but they just did it right away.
Which
Day of
leads
the
me to believe that I feel like very strongly that they'll be back again here next year with season 4.
Yeah, I mean, like they would have made it for last year's Emmys, were it not for them having to take a break because of Gene Smart's
Yes.
heart procedure.
Right.
And then they returned to production for literally a week before the writer's strike.
Right. I think
So
if they didn't have the strike, obviously was the big push on the delay. But I think if they did not have the previous push because of Gene, they would have finished.
yeah,
So
because they started filming season 3 in November
yes.
2022. And I feel like, you know, um JPL have already started, or like they know what they want to do in season 4, right? So I feel like it would just be like writer's room, and then they can just pick up,
Yeah.
start production in the fall.
Yeah.
So
So that was a good big push for Hannah Einbinder and Hacks. A lot of campaigning, Joyce, and like a lot of events and tentpole features, actors on actors.
yeah, so today we're recording Wednesday, so today's actors on actors is Kim Kardashian and Chloe Sevigny.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip that one.
Yeah, I have no plans to watch that one.
What you think of Jodie and Robert Downey Jr.?
That's the only one I've seen so far. You know, I'm always here for Home for the Holidays reunion, and that was like the first 15 minutes of the conversation. So great.
That was great. And Jodie speaking truth, not to power, but just saying the real thing is that Flower Moon should have been an 8-hour miniseries and not a 3.5-hour
My
movie.
favorite part of her quote was when she actually first said 6.5 hours. I'm like, that's so specific.
She's dead on the money. If you're gonna make something that long, it should just be a TV show.
And it was also, I don't think she meant it that way, but it was also kind of like a backhanded compliment. You know, it was like a little bit shady because she was saying like you could like explore all these different avenues and come back
Yes.
together at the end.
Yes, it was a little bit shady because she was like, I wanted more perspectives
Yes.
shown.
Yeah.
Which, yes,
Which is
and
code for what we talked about all last year.
which while Lily is the heart and soul of the film, obviously Joyce, the character maybe not as much because it's all focused on. It was. We don't need to relitigate the killers of Flower Moon Wars because I don't think even the people who gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd remember the movie. But I would say it was heartening. It's heartening when you see somebody else saying stuff that you think.
Yeah. And you know, especially someone like Jodie, who I just love like her energy now. Like, and she's talked about this a million times. Like, you know, once she hit 60, like she had no fucks left to give.
Completely lost every
Yeah.
iota of fucks.
Yeah. But like, and she's just honest and blunt, but also still in a respectful way
I
about
mean,
everything.
she worked with Martin Scorsese. I think she could probably get
Yeah. Did you
that.
also watch THR drop their drama actress roundtable as
I
well?
didn't
And she,
watch it, but I read the transcript.
yeah. Yeah, and like, she was dropping some gems in there too.
Fantastic. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that one as well. That was a great one. It had Jodie, Brie Larson, Jennifer Aniston, Anna Sawai, and Naomi Watts. Was that it, or is there a sixth person?
Naomi and Nicole
Oh,
besties
Nicole, right? Of course.
and Sofia Vergara. So
Right.
a lot of limited ladies.
Yes.
And I feel like when they booked this roundtable, it was definitely pre-Shogun move.
Yes.
So um Jennifer was at the time that was booked, Jennifer was the only drama actress from an actual
Correct.
drama series.
Yes.
Great. Yeah.
I enjoyed that one a lot. A lot of good headlines, clicky headlines from that one as well. Nicole Kidman breaking glass.
Yeah, and then a lot of memes from that one too, dragging Jennifer Aniston, which like, come on, guys, you don't need
I'm
to do
not
that.
here. I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
So that was good. I enjoyed
And
that
well,
one.
what did you so this weekend there was also a lot of FYC events now picking up
Sure.
too,
Yeah.
but there was one for the morning show.
Yes.
Jennifer was there, John Hamm was
Oh
there,
yeah.
Billy Crudup, Mark Duplass,
Oh
Karen
gang.
Pittman, and Reese was not there,
No.
and she was also not at this roundtable.
Correct. I
Do
don't
you
have Reese
do you
getting
feel
in.
better about not having
I
her?
do. I don't think she's getting in. I think they're fully on the Jennifer Aniston train for that show.
I feel like that's always, not always, but I feel like she's definitely always had an edge over Reese, but I don't think like the lack of Reese on the trail doesn't really concern me because she hasn't really done that much in previous seasons anyway. Like Jennifer did Actors on Actors for season 2 with Sebastian Stan, and Reese didn't do that.
Jennifer definitely has an
And Reese
appetite
got
for.
in.
Yeah, Jennifer has an appetite for campaigning. Certainly,
Yes.
we
Yeah.
know that from Cake, even Joyce.
Love Cake.
Uh, I was like, I mean, beyond the lack of campaign, I mean, my perspective has always been like this season. Jennifer is like the character is like the lead of this season more so than Reese. They maybe have equal screen time. I didn't look it up, and I'm like, obviously they're like doing a
Reese
lot.
definitely has more screen time than Jen because Jen was barely in the January 6th episode.
But like the show, like the crux of the show is more Jen than Reese. I feel like because Reese is always focused. All the stuff about Reese's character is like only really about Reese's character, right? It's like January 6th or her relationship with Juliana Margulies or whatever. And the Jennifer stuff is more tied into the actual mechanics of the show. So I just feel like the show is more focused on the character that Jennifer plays.
I mean, I don't think that really matters because you can basically say the same about Shogun because I think like Cosmo Jarvis is like the actual lead of
Yeah,
that show
he
and like
is.
Anna Sawai and not really Hero
Well, I
just
would say
because of just because of like how Toranaga serves or does not serve the plot for most of the season. Like it was very specific, right? Like it makes sense at the end, but it's not really his story for most of the season. But like I don't have a problem with him being a lead. I think that's fine. Like
no, I'm not arguing. I just think like in terms of I don't disagree with you, and I think Cosmo's Blackthorn is definitely the lead of Shogun, no matter how much they try to retrofit it to be more focused on the Japanese characters. That said, I think Mariko and Anna Sawai was the co-lead, and I would say Hiro is like, yeah,
Hero is like more supporting. He's like borderline. Like I think he could go either way, but I
yeah,
think like the absolute leads were Cosmo and
yeah.
Anna.
And
But like I don't think like that matters like who is the focus narratively because obviously they have to vote based on where the person is submitted, so like they can't change that
I,
anyway. But I also don't think they think of it that specifically like you do, because I think like if they just watch the show and they like the performance or like they're friends with Reese, right?
well, I think that would
Like
be obviously she
so
should
I
enough
don't know
hands.
if this is like I don't necessarily know if this is a show like they paid that much attention to, although you could definitely argue that with her getting in over Jen for season 2, because I do think she had a better season 2
She did,
than Jen.
yes.
So, but then also this year, I feel like if this year were more competitive, I don't think both of them would have a chance of getting in. I think it'll just be one or the other again. But like since the field is pretty weak.
Little thin. I think I have Carrie Preston in because I was pushed into putting her back in.
We need more people to pressure you to add.
Email
Launch.
us at slugfest and goldderby.com. I'm happy to add.
I I
Especially if
I
you're
won't I won't fold like a cheap
I'll
tent,
fold
but Chris will.
immediately. And anything you want, just email me and I'll put it in my predictions. It's fine. The lightest bit of pressure. I'll just be like, oh, that sounds good. Okay. So that was great. And then Tuesday was John Hamm, you mentioned obviously on the campaign trail for Morning Show and Fargo.
Yeah,
He's just all over the place. What do you think of his glasses? He's really
I
rocking
like them.
those.
Yeah.
Your interesting eyewear choice. He looks
Mhm.
pretty good.
And yesterday was also his Actors on Actors
Yes,
with
with
Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
Seemed fun.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one. I'm not a big Bridesmaids person,
Mhm.
so
What ones we have coming up?
we have Hiddles and Anna Sawai. I think that's not for a little while.
I'm
But
excited for
that
that
one is
one.
just gonna be like 85% Hiddles talking because he loves to talk.
I'm really excited for that one as a Kong Skull Island fan. So I know they'll be able to tie it into the Randa storyline because she plays Kate Randa, who is in Monarch, Joyce. Not a show she's really campaigning for.
No, but Hiddles will do his due diligence, and I can assure you he watched that.
He better have. He's a part of the franchise.
Like he will just he would do anything that's like asked, basically.
Looking forward to that one. A couple of there's Joey King and who is she doing a kissing booth reunion? Is that one?
Yeah, right. Joey and TZP.
Yes.
And and then who's Nick with?
I
We got a lot of red,
yeah.
white, and royal blue.
They're really pushing that. My computer's freezing up, so I can't actually look at them. But
Oh, I think he's with Leo Woodall,
oh,
right?
that's right. Yes, for one day. So those will be
Um,
fun.
yeah. And then I when they announced these lineups last week,
Hmm.
and also with the round, I mean, this happens every year, but also with like the round tables too. People get so mad about like who's excluded
Yes.
and like why didn't you ask so and so? And I'm just like, how do you know they were not asked? And they just
We've talked about
the
this. This
person
is
said no.
like, yeah, it's also like very coordinated with the studio.
It's incredibly coordinated. There's a lot like these things, they just don't happen over one or two emails, right? These are planned months in advance. There's a lot of PR
Hmm.
finagling, and agreements made, and also scheduling, just like timing.
Yeah, tough to get all
So,
these people together.
yeah. So, but like everyone always gets mad about who was excluded from these.
Yeah,
And I'm like, there's more going into it than just like who the outlet wants and who they're able to get. And some people might not be interested. So it's like,
yeah. I'm trying to think what else we had. A couple of we have new shows that we're not gonna allow. We have Presumed Innocent coming out soon. Did you watch any of the Acolyte, Joyce? These are for next year's
no,
Emmys.
I don't, I'm not into Star Wars.
I'll just be curious to see how these shows are remembered, and if we're like, I guess I'll put the Acolyte in because they like Star Wars next year. Like, a year from now.
I I get the sense that people who follow the Emmys are excited for this current eligibility period that we're in because the previous one was so weak. And I think like they're very excited for 2024 to 2025 because of several shows that are returning, and some new shows that were like the Acolyte, and House of the Dragon coming back
Oh yeah, that's this week too,
next
Joyce.
week. Yeah, they have their premiere on
I
Monday.
saw it's a lot of people there. They were tweeting
Yeah,
and photographing.
yeah. So I think a lot of like Emmy fans were ready to be done with the past season, whereas I'm like, we could keep this going because I like unpredictability and not knowing what's going on.
This
And
season,
now like
yeah,
we have like Squid Game coming back, like Severance, The White Lotus, Last of Us. And
this
but like that, I think that's what people want. They want like the usual suspects.
yeah, this season I feel like is also it feels again like not shortchanged because it's obviously the right amount of time, but because the Emmys were last year's Emmys were in January of this year, and then like it just feels like very tightened, right? And so like people are already just like, let's be done with this and go to next year.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's just because of the strikes, right? Like no one was able to make anything
Well,
for
yeah,
months.
sure.
And then so, things were incomplete or like things were pushed, just like premiere dates that were already finished, right? Like things that probably would have premiered earlier and been eligible for this year, right? So, um, but you know, I'm always just like, this is just what happened. So just like let the season be what it is. And you know, you'll have your boring old nominees back next year. So
Well, it's funny because this year is going to end up being, we've talked about this, maybe boring because you could have just a sweeper in all the categories, right? Basically, or like
yeah,
a real dominant force. Certainly
yeah.
the Bear, and maybe with a side of
That's
Hannah.
why I didn't want Shogun to move for other
Right,
reasons too. But
right. Shogun as a drama series now, and then Baby Reindeer remaining, full steam ahead as the limited series frontrunner. And now next year, the drama series already looks incredibly competitive, right? With all the returning shows that you just mentioned. And limited series, we don't yet have like that beef Baby Reindeer. Obviously, we wouldn't even know now, like a breakout or whatever is going to be, maybe a surprise. And then probably the Bear and Hacks again,
the Bear, Hacks, Only Murders,
and Only
have it.
Murders, right?
Yeah.
So
Um, yeah, and Baby Reindeer are back stateside for another promo FYC campaign.
yeah, you talked to Richard Gadd, Joyce.
I talked to him last week when he was still in London.
Wow, this is all over the place.
Yeah. I asked about his new BBC show that he's writing, and he basically was like, I just can't wait to just like get back to writing, like just hunker down, because he's like, I'm you know, happy and grateful for all the love for Baby Reindeer, but it's just been so crazy. Like the man
Mhm.
just wants to like get back to his computer and write and no one bother him. So
I mean, can you blame him?
no,
I
no.
can't. Let's see. We can do emails, Joyce. We got a lot of those, including another game
Oh great.
and a little bit of contention with the game. Actually, do you want to start there?
From Mike
No,
or like someone else?
from someone else.
Wow. Like just with the premise of the game or like our choices?
Well, I'm gonna read you. I know you don't read the comments, so I went into the comments
Of course you
of our
did.
latest video. This is from one of our loyal listeners and viewers. I think Tim. Nothing against Mike, and everyone can say, well, don't watch it. And I do fast forward, but the games are probably great for you too. But whatever. Stupid and not interested. I come here for the movie show predictions. Awards questions pertain to that. Games like Mike's, lame. Peace. Now,
Wow. And who was this?
I think it was
What's
Tim.
their handle?
I
Just
think it
Tim?
was Tim on the comments. He's a loyal commenter. I wrote back, thanks for the feedback, because I know I commented before. So that's the context for this email from Mike Joyce.
Okay.
If I can load it up. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's me again, Game Master and Late Night with Deborah Van staff writer Mike. Once again, thanks for always entertaining my silly little games for the past few weeks. You two had great responses as always. At this point, I don't know if we can call them games because there are no winners or earning points or trophies. It's more like an exercise. Let's put it that way. For this week, I was originally going to take time off from the quote game. However, I saw a very encouraging comment from Tim that had 2 likes as of this writing, and it made me reconsider the hiatus. Here's what Tim said, and he read the email that I just read. Wow, thank you so much, Tim, for the encouragement. Because of the popular demand.
I love this cross-platform engagement.
Because of the popular demand from Tim, we're going to play some sort of game again this week. Or we can just call it an exercise since it's not really a competitive activity. This one is very simple and could spark some discussion. Everyone is free to weigh in on this topic, just like what Tim did. And Tim, if you're watching, you could fast forward. The mechanics are simple. I'm going to mention a limited series contender this year, and you two will say if the title should have been a movie or not. I thought about this because I've seen so many limited series since the peak TV era started, and some of them should have been a movie or a 4-part series the most. You can briefly discuss why. Whatever you would like to do. Here we go. Here are the titles that you can discuss. Are you ready for this, Joyce?
Sure.
Lessons in Chemistry.
If that should have been a movie?
Yes.
Um, I mean, it could have been, but I think a TV show is fine.
I also agree. I think it's a perfect, the way it's presented is a TV
Yeah.
show. It
Hmm.
goes, it's got a lot of different nooks and crannies that it goes into. Feels like a TV show.
Yes, and then they added that episode for Lewis Pullman at the end, which is
Yeah.
nice, you know. So
Your favorite show, Eric.
Eric does so many things that I can't see it being a movie.
Same. My favorite show, The Sympathizer, Joyce.
I mean, there is a movie in that show.
There is. I talked to Team Downey this week, Joyce, Susan Downey
You
and
did.
Amanda
You did.
Burrell.
Yeah.
And they were saying it could only be a TV show, that they don't always go for TV shows with Robert, obviously. But like this felt like it was specifically made to be a TV show.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it would have to be a really long movie, I feel like.
I don't think you would get enough of the I don't think you would get enough depth from the Robert characters to make it work. As I think it would come off too much of like a. I know some people maybe thought it was a stunt, but I
Oh
actually
yeah,
think
people definitely still think it's a stunt.
but it's
So
really not. And I think
yeah.
like in the movie version, it would be because it would be like very quick,
Yeah.
get a lot of the depth of the characters.
Yeah, and then you would also just have to excise so much just from the captain's storyline too. And then I mean like everything with the fake movie, Hamlet, would that would just be like what, like 5 minutes or something.
You could have made a movie of the Hamlet.
Yes.
That could have been its own movie.
Yes.
I gotta say, as Mr. Movie Choice, all of the so I've not seen. I'm even looking ahead at the list that I have privy to, and you will find out. I'm like a lot. I don't know if any of these I would make into a movie, but I guess we'll see. Some maybe one or two, but I think all of them are actually right as TV shows. Expats, Lulu Wong show on Amazon.
I mean, everyone involved with that talks about the fifth episode as a feature length episode. I'm like, that's not a thing, guys.
So they made an episode that is a movie
Yeah.
in a TV show.
Yeah.
Again, feels like it has to be a TV show though.
Yeah, for what they were doing or with like all the different strands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like they just made like a 2 hour episode, which is not again, not a thing.
I will say one thing that Mike pointed out. One thing I think limited series would be right by some of these, even some we just mentioned, is it doesn't need to be a movie, but it also could be 4 episodes or 5 episodes. Sometimes there's only like 5 episodes of story we're stretching to 8.
Yeah, I mean like episode length is like that topic I feel like is so loaded because I have very strong feelings about that, not just with like limited series, but just with like ongoing series too, especially now that everything is like 8 episodes, right? Just in drama series. And then they like fluctuate season to season. It's like last season was 10 episodes and now it's gonna be 8. That's House of the Dragon.
Right.
Right? So it's like we don't I talked about this with Geneva Robertson Doret and Graham Wagner, the
Good
Fallout
plug. Yeah.
showrunners, because the ghoul says thy shall get sidetracked by side quests every time. Or not side or it gets sidetracked by bullshit every time. And I was like, was that like a wink at side quests like in video games? And they're like, yes, absolutely. And I was like, that is so fitting just for TV in general, because like if Fallout had been made like 20 years ago, or even like, like 10 years ago, it would have, a full 22 episode season. And that's just normal TV. That's what TV has been like for more than half a century. And that long of a season, you do have quote side quests and filler episodes and like very special episodes. And they were like, yes, absolutely. Like that is what TV is. And like that's always what's so fun. You get to explore all these other storylines and these characters and go more in depth with them. But then they were like, just with like the scope of Fallout, we can't do more than 8.
I was thinking of this the other day because we talked about this a lot. This is a good sidetrack on Michael's thing. Tim, come back if you fast forwarded. I'm sure you could hear this through the skipping. The length of episodes and how like it's a lost art to do like a 22, like that there's not, because people haven't done it and it's become less and
And
less.
like no one watches broadcasts anymore.
So it's like not as like, because I was thinking this, like I talked to talking to some of the people behind the Apple show Loot, Joyce, which I really enjoy. That's only been the season 2 finale is episode 20. I would say season 2 was a lot better to me than season 1. It was a lot funnier. It felt like much more like the show I think it wants to be, which is like Parks and Rec or The Office. Like that's the vibe they're going for, or like 30 Rock, that kind of like classic sitcom vibe. And it's like they're just getting to like the season 1 finale basically after 2 seasons and praying they come back for a 3rd season. And you finally are knowing the characters and this and that. And I'm like, the writer, all the people behind that show, like Alan Yang and Matt Hubbard, are like TV, like classic sitcom veterans who are like really from that era. And I'm like, they're actually given, it's a disservice to only give them 10 episodes, because I really think they could have made a full 22 episode season of the show and it would have been really funny. And they're able to do the diversions more in that way, right? Like if they had one season instead of two separate seasons, there would be more like sidetracks and like supporting characters. There's a lot of like funny supporting characters on that show that could even be fleshed out more than they already have been, because of the way they're kind of boxed into 10 episodes, they're not. Then I was thinking of Abbott, which just finished what, like a 14 episode season, stuck because of the strike. But I was like, man, that season was great. And like they got it exactly. I felt like the way that show should be in 14 episodes, whereas season 2, which was much longer in episodes,
Well,
was not as successful
we
to
talked
me.
about this last week, and I know I definitely mentioned this not last week, last year, about Abbott season 2, like, because they did a full 22 last year,
Yes.
and they would have done a full 22 this year were it
Yes.
not for the strikes. And I mean, last season, I mean, I still enjoy Abbott, but I felt like they didn't know how to write a 22 episode
Yes.
season
Exactly.
because of just like the era we're in, and we're not training young writers. They're
Mhm.
not in writers' rooms for 22 episode season shows,
Yes.
right? They're
Yeah.
used to these like tight 10 episode seasons where everything is all plot. And then as
Mhm.
a viewer, you're conditioned to just watch 8, 10 episode seasons where
Mhm.
it's all plot. And then you hate it when there is a quote filler episode, when those are so much fun. Like that's what made TV great when we were growing up.
And
Watching
so
these like
it was funny.
fillers.
And so I totally agree. And it was funny like watching those two shows, because I was like, man, Loot would have benefited from 22 episodes, and Abbott is actually perfect for like 14. I felt like it was like the right amount. Like they actually got it. Like,
Yeah, I think it's because of the
yes,
staff
yes,
behind each of them.
yes. And it's
Yeah.
very funny. I just was like, oh, so anyway. So some
Yeah.
of these limited series I think could be like 5 episodes. That's a long way around to say this. Fellow Travelers, Joyce, the internet's favorite show, according to our
Internet's favorite
comments.
show. I think, I mean, the film tour would love it as a film, but I think it works as a TV show.
Same.
Yeah.
Griselda,
I can definitely see that as a movie,
very easily.
but I think it's better as a show.
I think
Yeah.
it's probably better as a show, but it easily could have been a movie, and we
Yeah.
easily would have been like Sofia Vergara Oscar nomination. Let's
And
go.
it's still on Netflix too. So
The Regime.
I cannot see that being a movie.
No, same. All the
No.
Light We Cannot See.
That once again, like Griselda, it can definitely be a movie, but I think it's better as a show.
This one I would say fully a show. Under the Bridge.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Can't even
Jesus.
imagine it being.
No.
Could be a
It,
multi-season show. Frankly, it doesn't even need to be a limited series. They could do a season 2 of that.
oh my God. Like that, it would be a disservice to the story if
It'd
it
be
were a movie.
terrible.
Yeah.
A Murder at the End of the World.
I think that's fine as a show. I
Same.
can't. And I don't know if I'm saying show for all of these because they already exist as shows,
I
but I just,
I think they're all shows though. I really do.
yeah,
I mean I think Griselda would be would be okay as a movie.
yeah,
That's the only one so far that I was like, oh, that could be a movie. But it's not like bad as a show.
no.
The Veil.
Um, that, that could be a movie, yes. But again, I think I don't think it's like really successful as a show, but I think it needs to be a show for what it wants to do.
Yeah. This one I think could be a movie. Franklin.
Yeah, this is, I mean, is it just like the biopics that could all
I think all the biopics could easily be
could be
movies.
films?
Uh, A Gentleman in Moscow, fully a show. It's just too dense.
But you would have cried for the full 2.5 hours
Would
of,
have loved it as a movie. Loved it as a show. Give it an Emmy for music score, Emmy
yeah,
for
that one is
production
definitely a
design.
show because there's just so much going on and the time jumping and
Would not work. And
everything.
then finally Manhunt, which I think would make a great movie, but
It would make a great movie. Yeah.
would love to
But
see it as a movie. I
but I
think that
enjoy
one
it as a
actually
show.
was that was maybe developed as a movie if I remember correctly.
Mm. Yeah, that could definitely be a movie, but I like the show. So
Thanks again, guys. You are always awesome. I've been a long time listener
I
here
love this beef
from the
between
very
Mike
beginning,
and
and I've
Tim.
only emailed here just recently when I started sending these so-called games, and seeing you two respond to my silly emails makes me smile. I'll always be a loyal listener here. Ciao. That's from Mike. And Tim, we still love you too. Tim is a good. He's got a. He's always
Tim
a,
can listen to whatever he wants.
yeah,
He
yeah.
doesn't need to
And
listen
he
to
doesn't have
this.
to like
So,
everything.
yeah.
Tim, email us at your own games, maybe. Speaking of movies versus shows, Joyce, this is from Jane, this is from news from yesterday. Joyce, hi Joyce and Chris. Like Margot Robbie and so many others, I was thrilled to see Netflix has moved forward with a Peaky Blinders movie. Do you think they'll forego any kind of theatrical or Oscar push for this and just submit it as an Emmy contender so my beloved Cillian Murphy could be one step closer to his EGOT?
I was actually talking with my friend about this yesterday when it was finally confirmed, and we were literally saying this, and like they should just push it a TV movie at the Emmys.
Yes.
And Cillian can get in and win, even though it's a TV movie, but it's really a show, and everyone loves Peaky Blinders, and he's obviously never been nominated for Peaky Blinders.
So we've talked a lot about how they don't like the TV movies are not given a great amount of shine in the acting categories. I think this would obviously be an exception because it's a TV show that's turned into a movie.
Yeah, and then also, so yesterday after this news drop, hold on, let me pull it up. So yesterday at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, June 4th, Ron Howard tweeted a link to the Raps story about Peaky and wrote, "Great news for us, hashtag Peaky Blinders, hashtag Cillian Murphy fans." So he's in. And I'm like, we know who he voted for at the Oscars.
That's another vote. 2 votes right there. Margot Robbie and Ron Howard.
So I think, yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're getting way ahead of ourselves, and it'll depend on the field and everything. And if there is like a huge limited series, because I think those still have the edge, but you know, everyone loves Peaky, and people were clamoring for this film when the show ended 2 years ago. Yes. And like I feel like every interview Cillian did during the Oppie run, someone asked about the movie, including Margot Robbie, obviously.
It was a great tell to show that a lot of real people love, and actors and like in the industry
they've
love
always like there's
Peaky
always
Blinders.
been famous people who love Peaky.
And real people love it too.
Yeah.
Marcus Stroman has a Peaky Blinders tattoo of Cillian Murphy's head on his arm.
Yeah. I mean, like Snoop recorded his own version of Red Right Hand, and then he was at the Universal party in January and talked up Cillian.
So and then all the people on film tour are like, what is Peaky Blinders? Never heard of it.
Well, you know, I mean, that's why they went with Paul Giamatti, who also had his own TV news yesterday.
Can't wait. Hostel show. A fucking movie I wouldn't watch if you paid me money, and a show I'll never see. So just hate those movies so much. This cannot. This one's from Jason Joyce. Emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. It's about the writing and directing predictions. So if we don't want to answer this, we don't have to, but I want to read it because it's nice. Because he's wrote a nice email. Hi, Joyce and Chris. If you had to predict what we get into comedy, drama, limited directing, writing lineup, and guessing what could get in, what do you think will get nominated? Love what you've done for these podcasts. This Emmy cycle. Love, Jason. See, I had to read that. He's very kind at the end.
Oh.
I mean, we could talk around this or maybe wait till next week.
Wait, are these like our personal?
I guess so. I mean, like it's all going to be the typical shows, though. If you had to predict, he's asking.
Oh, if we have, so our predictions, not our personal picks. For, I mean, well, we know some of the submissions already.
Right. I mean, we know Bear, we know Hacks, like we said.
Yeah, we know. So Hacks is, or they have submitted the finale, obviously, which anyone could have guessed. And so, and they always just submit one for each writing and directing. So I think those are getting in. And the Bear is submitting Just Fishes for writing and Honeydew and Fishes for directing, because Honeydew was Rami Youssef. So I think
all three of those
are getting in. Yeah.
So the Hacks finale, those 2 Bear episodes will get in for directing. I do think Abbott could get in for the finale for Randall Einhorn.
I don't know. So? I mean, like they
don't really like, they don't obviously have not historically liked the show as much.
Well, yeah, like it's never been nominated in directing. So, I don't know if that will get in.
But what else would get in this field?
I think maybe Curb.
I think Curb finale probably, right?
And then remember we have the multicam slot, which has gone to the Miss Pat show the last couple years. But I feel like maybe they might name check like James Burrows for Frasier.
Right.
You know, there's also like Only Murders for directing.
And then limited series we talked about.
Limited, so Baby Reindeer submitting for the fourth episode. Not 4 episodes, but the 4th episode. And
Ripley would be Zalian for all of them.
yeah. And then Noah Hawley for I don't know which episode of Fargo.
And
Maybe
what
the
about
premiere?
lessons? And then what about lessons in chemistry?
Lessons, like for sure they're submitting Sarah Dina Smith, who won
Yes.
DGA.
I feel like she'll get in here.
And then, you know, Issa
For True Detective. Yep.
So, and then drama, Shogun has so many submissions.
Shogun has a lot, but I do think 9 and 10 will end up getting in.
Do you think they'll get 2 or 3 in? Because I think it could be 1, 9, and 10.
I mean, it depends on what else comes in the category, because I think Jonathan Nolan could get in for
wait,
Fallout.
who directed them? Wait, hold on.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think we talked about this. Like, I think depending on the lineup, like Fallout could actually win that category.
I think.
Oh wait, I just looked up Fallout instead of Shogun.
Okay. Well, I think Nolan will get in. I think Stephen Daldry will get in for the Crown finale. We already talked about this.
Yes.
And then it depends how many Shoguns get in.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it would be the premiere because Jonathan did that. And then, yeah, Frederick will be, because Frederick did the last 2. So Frederick will get in for 9. So then if they get a third one, I think it would be the 3rd episode. Tomorrow is Tomorrow for Charlotte Brandstrom.
She could definitely get in.
Yeah.
I think most likely they'll get 2 in for sure. The Crown is 3.
And then they could just name check like Hiro Murai for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And then they could also do The Curse.
Or they could do Donald Glover for the finale for Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I feel like they'll do the premiere because it's
okay. The finale is fantastic though.
Yeah. So and then what, writing? I mean,
we don't have to do writing for now. I think directing is good. We'll do that next week. Joyce, Judgmental TV Fan is back with a couple of emails.
I love Judgmental TV Fan.
Really judgmental this week. Hi Joyce and Chris. Just as I suspected, the Gotham TV Awards were pretty meh. While some winners were respectable, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, others were predictable, Baby Reindeer. The rest left me scratching my head. I cannot take these awards seriously, and it's really embarrassing overall when the people attending and posting about it are all film Twitter. Seriously, why does this exist? That's the first Judgmental TV Fan email. Joyce, let's look at those winners. That was last night. We're recording this Wednesday. It was Tuesday night.
Yeah, the inaugural Gotham TV Awards. Let me pull up the press release, which has the juries.
Okay. It was a who's who in attendance. Riley Keough, Kristen Wiig, Marissa Hardite, the Baby Reindeer team just out on the town. I'll just read some of the winners, I guess. Breakthrough Comedy Series was presented by Joel Kim Booster and Susie Essman, both contenders for Emmys in the supporting category this year. Went to Colin from Accounts. You watching that one? Paramount Plus?
No, I have not watched that one yet. And Harriet Dyer also won for performance.
Yeah.
In a comedy series for Colin from Accounts.
And then I got the jury. Do you want me to read the juries too? Because I got it here. This is who
if you want to.
The comedy series jury included Adam Goldman, Kiki Lane, Lydia Dean Plilcher, Matt Sharp, and Tony Hacienda.
Yes. So just a reminder, in the non-phase, this is also true for the film awards. They have like critics and journalists.
Yes.
Due to nominations, panel also, and different juries for each category. But for the winners, they have industry people.
Correct.
Pick the winners, and it's different panels for each category as well.
Breakthrough Drama Series was presented by Jake Lacey, your favorite Apples Never Fall star. Went to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Fantastic show.
Approved by Judgmental TV Fan.
Yes. Blair Breard, Reva Marker, Rob Morgan, Joan Ratter, and Peter Saraf were the jury. Breakthrough Limited Series presented by Golda Rochelle Blue. Baby Reindeer. Clay Duval and Lee Sung Jin, Acolyte star, and Oliver Platt were on the jury, among others.
I also just love this title for the category, Breakthrough Limited Series. I'm like, it's just like best limited series.
Technically, Baby Reindeer did break through, though, Joyce.
It did, but it's also, it can never compete again.
No. It broke through and it's staying there.
Like breakthrough drama and comedy, like you understand, like those are for first year shows, you know?
Nonfiction series went to the Jared Carmichael reality show. Performance in a comedy series presented by the Baby Reindeer team went to Harriet Dyer from Column from Accounts, like you said. Outstanding performance in a drama series.
And presenter Joel Kim Booster was on the panel for the comedy performance category.
Zine Sang from Three Body Problem won the outstanding performance in a drama series. And that jury included Ishmael Cruz Cordova. Oh, no, sorry, that was the presenter. That jury included Emily Gordon, Aldous Hodge, and Susan Kalechi Watson, among others. And then outstanding performance in a limited series went to Andrew Scott from Ripley, Joyce.
Film Twitter is thrilled.
And there you go. That jury included Fisher Stevens, which he's in Ripley. Just saying, maybe conflict of interest. But
how did they choose the juries?
I don't know. Looked like a fun event. I didn't go.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to all the winners. I don't know what did Judgmental TV Fan have a question, or were they just venting about the winners?
I think it was the question was, why does this exist?
Oh, because I think they just want to, you know, like they're bored and they want to just like cash in on TV stuff.
That's definitely one of the cynical reads for it, sure. And I would say the other one is that the Gotham Awards even though they went through it quickly last year, with the TV shows, they did a lot of these on the show in the Gotham Awards last year for film, and it was a lot of awards and a lot of tributes. And so I think separating it into two ceremonies makes a lot of sense if they're going to go forward with TV. It lets them expand more TV and then like keep the movie ceremony to be just movies.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this when the nominations were announced, but they've had TV categories for a couple of years now. Yeah. But my thing is like, why are you adding them at all in the first place? It's like the Spirit Awards. Yeah, adding them too. So
MTV did it first. MTV Movie and TV Awards ruined a good thing. Now they don't even exist.
And they're not even on this year. So
now they don't even exist. Judgmental TV event, a follow-up. I also saw a story on Variety this week about The Bear. It once again questioned whether the show is a comedy because it tackles darker themes. How are we still having this discussion in 2024? Comedies have always tackled dramatic topics, just like dramas are often funny. Looking at You, Justified, and Succession. I can't believe this is still something people are questioning, and the fact that the writer called Hacks more dramatic this season really makes me think he's never seen the show. Ouch. That's Judgmental TV Fan.
I would agree that Hacks is not more dramatic this season.
I think that's confusing. That Hannah definitely got more dramatic stuff in the finale.
Yeah, but I think that's also just like isolating one moment and extrapolating it and applying it to the whole season.
Yes.
And that does not make any sense.
And also
if you actually watch the season.
And also not necessarily true either, because in the season 1, she had to deal with her father dying, right?
Like all 3 of their season finales have had emotional moments. Like, yeah, season 1, the funeral with her dad and Jean comes and they have that nice moment in her room. And season 2 was when Deborah fires Ava, right? That was a really emotional moment. Yeah. And yeah, like season 3, the confrontation. Definitely. So, but like they have these like sweet moments in like almost every episode. Like in episode 8 this season, like the bar scene between Carl Clemens Hopkins and Tim Bagley, when he explains like how fandom evolves, you know, and like how sometimes you might just have to let someone go. Like that, like for a majority of that scene, um, is really sweet and emotional, right? And then you still have like his kicker at the end when he starts talking about Cher and like we got the Believe album.
It definitely is and it's also the funniest show. With the bear, it does feel tiresome to still be talking about this and
Yeah, I'm just like,
third
guys, move on.
season.
Move on. It's not changing categories, move on.
Uh, it's not. I mean, it's not a comedy. If your definition of comedy is like 30 Rock, it's definitely not a comedy. But I do think, and it's not even as funny as Succession, which we've
No.
talked about. But whatever. It just is. This is just the way they designate it, and it's usually on time. If The Bear was an hour long, I think it would be a drama series.
Yeah, and like obviously the Emmys did away with that
Yeah,
time designation, like that
right.
no longer exists. So, but like I mean, it's all just strategy on FX's behalf. And also like the show was when it was first ordered like years ago, they called it a comedy series, and I think if they hadn't specified, maybe the reception would be a little bit different because it doesn't set that expectation,
Yeah,
but um like I also think season 2 was funnier than season 1. Like we talked about this last year when season 2 dropped. Like they definitely did a little bit more like sitcom-y things, so like The Wall and like like pratfalls and stuff. And I mean, like everything with Richie and Fak is hilarious to me.
yeah. I mean, the thing that's one of the interesting things to me about the show is actually the fact that everyone in the show I would call a comic actor except for Jeremy Allen White, who is like a very serious drama actor to me. Like, but I mean, like Oliver Platt, I think is very funny and like known for being in comedies and even funny in dramas. Evan Boss Bacharach, I would call more of like he's definitely funny. I don't know if he's like Io and Abby Elliott obviously are like come from like comedy backgrounds. Like you said, like Maddie Madison is like very funny. All of these people on the show are funny. And so they are able to wring comedy out of like even dramatic situations. And then Jeremy is just like fucking putting Jeremy Strong in the middle of the show, which I just love.
Well, Jeremy Allen White also spent 11 years on Shameless, which started as a drama at the Emmys, and then
Yes.
they moved to comedy because that was the easier
Mm-hmm.
category for them, and they started collecting nominations for William H. Macy and a win for Joan
Yes.
Cusack.
Yes.
So, and that was a dark comedy. That's still not like haha sitcom
No.
comedy. So, I mean, The Bear, I've always thought of it as a workplace sitcom that is just disguised as a drama. Because there is a version of that is just a literal workplace sitcom, like The Office,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But I do think it's not structured as a comedy, or written as one with like jokes and not even like punchlines, but just it's not written like Hacks. Like Hacks is a comedy, you know.
Right.
But yeah, I think people just need to get over it being in comedy because it's not moving and it's like, who cares?
I saw
They're
that,
not breaking any rules. Like
and the Emmys will never move it. It'll never get pushed into drama. I
they
don't.
they just won. So like it's already been accepted, not just by the Emmys, but every other group as
Yeah.
a comedy series. Like no one has moved them.
No. And they won't. And who's to say season 3 is not funnier again? I mean, like season 2 was definitely funnier.
Yeah, and then like they're also not gonna like appeal themselves to move,
No, why would they? They're going to win
Like,
Emmys this way. Uh, this is another bear question, Joyce. Looking forward to that coming back. I guess we'll talk a lot about that in end of June. So from Cassandra. You mentioned this earlier, so it's good. Why on earth would the bear submit fishes over forks for writing when the latter is obviously the better written episode? The writing of fishes is actually not what makes it memorable. That's the performances, even if I think the episode isn't that special. Yikes, shots fired. That's from Cassandra.
I mean, I feel like Fishes is overrated too. So Forks is the superior episode. But it's not submitted because Chris Storer did not write that one. Alex Russell did.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bear is another show that, I mean, they've only obviously been eligible for 1 year, but last season they just submitted one in writing and also directing. And this year, like we said, they submitted 1 in writing and 2 in directing, only because Rami Youssef was still there
Right.
directing contender. So I think that, they're just like zeroing in on Chris and Joanna Kalo because they they wrote Fishes. So
And they're the creative forces behind the show.
yeah. So I think it would have been interesting to see what, I mean, I guess they probably would have still done Fishes if they had also both written Forks.
I mean, I think yes, because the Fishes is the Connor's wedding of the show.
But not as good as Connor's Wedding.
No, but also like not indicative of the show. Like the funny thing about Connor's wedding is like I think we talked about this when Succession was on. Like it's not necessarily indicative of the show. But
No.
like I think they're better. Like I would have preferred like the finale, right? For for Succession or Connor's wedding wasn't like I didn't obviously loved it, but it's not like my favorite episode of that season. But it was the most. It was the standout
Yeah,
episode.
it's the most talked about
So right.
episode, but in terms of quality, I think Forks is more like Connor's Wedding than Fishes is.
I
So,
used to
but
say
again,
Fishes, and I actually think Connor's wedding and Fishes are comparable, even though I think Succession is like obviously like on another level in the Bear.
I just think like the reaction to Fishes was just so over the top. I'm like, none of you guys have ever been to a dysfunctional family dinner.
Or
And I
watched
agree,
this
it's not
one.
really, but if we're talking about writing, I agree with whoever sent that in that
Andrew, I believe.
that writing is not the strong point of Fishes.
Right.
Like I think it is the acting that really sells that episode.
Let,
Um, so
let
like
me
I think Forks is the better written episode.
so let me ask you this in terms of if I could do this without crashing my computer. Not likely. So in terms, so knowing that, which we kind of knew, that Fishes is going to be the focus episode. Does that help you? Does that make you think any of the fringe guest stars from that episode would be more likely to get in as guests because they're again that's going to be like the episode that they're focusing on. So like would like Sarah Paulson definitely get in then, or would like John Mulaney definitely get in?
I mean, I wouldn't say definitely because they're different branches, but we're all already predicting them just because that's the episode that everyone talks about from
Right,
season 2.
right.
So, um, but yeah, I think if Joanna and Chris had written Forks, they could have submitted both, like just do one submission and get them both in and just
Mm-hmm.
roll the dice and hope they win with one of them,
Yeah.
but I think they're just like sacrificing Alex unless he submitted himself, you know. But this is like, remember for Game of Thrones, season 8, like they only submitted the Iron Throne because it was by D&D, right? When
Mm-hmm.
everyone agreed that the best episode of that terrible season was A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and that was written by Brian Cogman, but he was not submitted because he's not D&D.
Right.
So this is like that.
Last one here. This one's from Kathy Joyce. This one's to you again. Another one bites the dust. Joyce, how are you feeling about Noel having to withdraw from Roland
No
Garros?
way.
Sure. And having to have
You're so
surgery.
fucking rude.
And do you think Casper has what it takes to actually win it all? Literally never heard of any of these people. I'm not rude. I'm just reading it. I don't know them.
You've heard of Novak Djokovic.
Yeah. Is that who Noel is?
Yes, Nole is his nickname.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You should know the nickname of the goat. So, I don't even know what was the question.
uh, how do you feel about having to withdraw and have surgery? And do you think Casper has what it takes to actually win it all?
Um, yeah, so he withdrew. He won 2 straight 5-setters. The first of which ended at 3:07 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he won his next match on Monday. So not a lot of recovery time in another 5-setter, and he tweaked his knee in the second set. And both matches were 4.5 hours at least. So and he's 37, so not young. Yeah, and then he yesterday withdrew on Tuesday, and then today he has a medial meniscus tear in his right knee, and this morning on Wednesday he had surgery. So he's out. We're gonna have a new world number one. Yannick Sinner is gonna be number one on Monday. First Italian man to be number one, and we'll have a new Roland Garros champion and the first Roland Garros champion to be born after 1987.
Wow.
Because it's just been big three, and Stan in between. But Uh, he's had a tough season by his standards, so I don't even know if he would have won at all had he not had the injury, like if he were still in it. Especially since he was taken to 5 the past 2 rounds, and he would have played Casper next in the quarters, who now has a walkover to the semis, and Casper got his first win over him earlier this season. So, and he's a great clay quarter. I think it's just kind of, it's just sad because it's like he's obviously older and up there, and he's been injury free most of his career, but it just like reminds me of, all the players that are of my generation are, basically leaving. Like Raj has retired, and like Rafa is like half retired, and also Andy is gonna probably retire after this season too. And then I also watched yesterday the screener for Rogers doc.
I was going to
Better.
ask you about this.
Yeah, 12 final days, whatever it's called. Can't talk about it because it's embargoed.
And all this good stuff is embargoed. We'll have to talk about it next week, I guess. When is
Well,
it?
yeah, because it's premiering at Tribeca
Right.
this week. But I
Tribeca's
mean,
holding all these
it's
premieres.
not a spoiler to say that Roger talks about his injury, which is public knowledge from 2016. Like he tweaked his knee, giving his kids a bath, and then he had knee surgery. So he talks about that in the doc, and how when he was younger, he always was like, I will never have surgery. Like, I think, because I just don't want to have surgery, but like I would just stop playing. But he got the surgery, and he tried to come back, and had some successes, like and but he still had to get multiple surgeries after that. And then he retired 2 years ago. So it was like weird watching it yesterday while Nole withdrew
Hmm.
with the knee injury, and I'm like, they're all like, I mean, that's the thing about sports, is like their lifespan as an athlete are so finite.
Mhm.
Whereas like with like, movies and arts, it's like these people can do this forever until they die. You know?
Time is undefeated in sports, Joyce. In
Yeah.
movies, it's a little bit defeated because you have
Yeah. They
Robert De
could
Niro,
literally drop dead on
Al
stage.
Pacino
Yeah.
still doing stuff. We
Yeah.
talked about
But
this a lot in our upcoming Oscars playback, Joyce, which I'm so excited for. But nobody goes away anymore. There's no disappearing
yeah,
acts
in terms of actors
and
now.
actors. Athletes,
Yeah.
yes. Actors, never.
Yeah.
There was a fun one the other day. My friends we were sending around. I have a thread with a lot of my college buddies, and it's like photos. I'll send through photos of old people who are we used to have like which should know, and it was Eric Gagne. Remember Eric Gagne from the Dodgers? He won Cy Young, and it was like him, and he looked totally different. And then it was like Fernando Valenzuela and Sandy Koufax, and they all look so old, but like so different.
So
And with
old.
Clayton Kershaw, it was like the last 4 Dodgers Cy Young winners. I assume was like the event. But yeah, I only got Eric Gagne because of the jersey, because I knew his number. I think he was like 38 or something. So I was like, oh, that's who it is. But I would have never guessed it otherwise. He looked great. He's probably
Yeah,
still
like
younger than
some
me.
some athletes after they retire, they, like they become commentators or whatever.
But a lot
Uh
just go away.
oh yeah, but like, I mean, Pete Sampras just completely
And
disappeared after he retired.
this is
So
like, that's a fun, I love when people go away, because then when they come
yeah,
back, it's like,
it's
oh man,
special. Yeah.
actors start going away. Actors. This is a blanket message to any actor over 70. Take a
Yeah,
break.
start going away, and then when they invite you to present Best Picture at the Oscars in 10 years, it would feel special. Not just like Al Pacino coming out to say, "My eyes see Oppenheimer."
I see Oppenheimer. Still the greatest. That's still one of the all-time greats. Joyce, this was so much fun. So next week we'll be back with ballots. I might be at the courthouse doing jury duty. We'll figure it out. And can't wait to look at those ballots. See who submitted. Maybe some self-submissions. I love that.
I I hope there's a lot of people who are not on the ballots, because that's my favorite thing, like to
Oh yeah.
see like who's not submitted. And then it's also fun to see who like withdraws themselves after, because after submission. Remember that the West Wing
I was just thinking.
voting special? Yeah, yeah. So on the initial ballot that year, all the actors were on the ballot, and then they quickly, like an hour or two later, they uploaded a new version, and all the actors were gone, because clearly they had no interest in chasing awards for this, because it was just to encourage voting, that special in
Right.
2020. And someone somewhere, like probably like HBO,
Put them
some
in.
assistant was told, like, just pay the fee for all these actors and submit them. And then the actors saw themselves on the ballot and were like, Get us
No.
the fuck out of there.
Going to
No.
help me. Mm-mm,
Yeah.
no. Not enough. All right. Well, we'll talk then, Joyce. Bye. Talk to you then. Bye.